It's time for Mornings at 8 with Jonathan Mark on AM 1480 WLEA.
Well, yes, it is time for Mornings at 8, and here we are on a Thursday morning. Thursday, practically Friday. One more little day, and there you go. And man, what a weekend it is going to be in our area. In Hornell, we have, that's right, Gus Macker. Macker Madness, the 22nd annual Hornell Gus Macker basketball tournament. And, if you think you're pretty busy this morning, I don't think you're nearly as busy as Dan Galadio. And Dan's the guy who's sort of in charge of the Macker tournament. He takes on the most of the work. Dan, are you there?
I'm here. Yes, I am.
So
Thanks, Jonathan, for having me.
Well, are you downtown or what?
Oh, yeah, we're right across from the Y. We have the semi-truck that's here, and we're just starting to unload all the equipment so we can get it all set up for the big weekend.
So when does the setup start?
Well, right now, what we have to do is all the baskets they're all on a semi-truck, and we have to unload them, and we have to build the baskets, and then it's all a little process, and then we'll bring them out into the streets tomorrow, and then we'll be ready to go Saturday and Sunday.
Well, how many courts are there going to be downtown?
We'll have, 18 or 19 active courts.
Wow.
Yeah, but play 3-on-3, so, yep.
So you're going to have 18 or 19 games going on at the same time?
Correct. Yep, it's all half-court games, yep.
Wow, it is a big tournament, and it's been going on for 22 years, and I think every year it gets better and better.
Well, this is our 22nd year, and our numbers are down a little bit this year, but they're still very manageable for our community, and it's a great event for Hornell, for sure.
Oh, yeah, well, there's a lot going on downtown. Now, you're going to close off Main Street at some point, right?
Tomorrow morning, yep.
Okay, tomorrow morning.
Today we're just in the parking lot across from the Y. That's where we do our staging area. And then tomorrow the streets will be closed, and we move everything from our staging area out into out onto Main Street and get everything all set up out there.
So Main Street will be closed from the Seneca until the morning?
From Route 36 down to about Center Street.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yep. And then also Broadway. We use Broadway as well.
Now,
there's a lot of vendors, food vendors that'll be there down on Broadway.
Uh-huh.
And so it's kind of more of a festival atmosphere, a fun family festival atmosphere. So.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And some great basketball.
And some great basketball to boot. Yes, absolutely. That's right. The thing with the basketball is that it starts with kids that are 10 and under,
uh-huh.
and it goes all the way up to like players that are 40 and up that still think that they want to be in the NBA. It's kind of funny.
Well, I've attended several of the Gus Mackers, and maybe they're amateurs, Dan, but they play pretty good basketball.
Right. Yep. And they all win, or not they all, but they're doing it for a trophy. They get a nice Gus Macker trophy. So, but there's some really good competition, and some guys just come to play and have fun, and they don't care about the winning; they care about just the right, atmosphere of the game and the event, and they just come and have a good time. So, you got a lot of different levels of play and ages, and male, female. It's a great event.
Yeah, and I mentioned, I think yesterday or the day before, I mentioned that there are 4 parking lots downtown. So
that's right. There's a big one across from the Y, and then you got the one out by behind Peebles and the Texas Cafe, and out behind the stores. Yeah, so there's plenty of parking.
Yeah, there's plenty. Even though there'll be a lot of people, there's still plenty of room and plenty of parking. Now,
correct.
Another thing, plenty, is you need plenty of volunteers.
Well, that's the other thing. This whole event, it's based. We can't do it without our sponsors, for one. And we can't do it without the volunteers from the community. We'll end up probably with somewhere around 125 to 150 volunteers by the end of the weekend.
Well,
and we just can't do it without the support of this community.
Well, as I said, right. That's what I was going to say. Is an event of this size can't take place without a lot of volunteers. And
so, right now there's about 6 or 7 guys helping to unload the truck. and probably we're going to get a few more. We usually have some people from the Hornell football team come over and help us, and then during the weekend we have scorekeepers, we have people at registration, we have referees, we have people in the bracket area, we have there's all kinds of different opportunities for volunteerism, and so we couldn't do it without the support of this community and the volunteers, and
right.
That's how you pull it off the event like this.
Right. And if people do want to volunteer, I want to volunteer for Gus Macker. What do I do? Who do I see? Who do I call?
You can come down to the Y, fill out a form, or call, leave your name. We'll get back to you. Whatever. The thing is, we have a sheet, and we got to kind of check sometimes. If anybody can just come and if they just want to do an hour sometime, we'll take whatever anyone can give. If they can be here all day, that's fantastic. If they can be here an hour, that's fantastic too.
Well, Dan, you have been doing this for 22 years, as long as it's been a Gus Macker in Hornell.
Hey, thanks for the reminder.
Wow, man, that's a lot of work.
There is. We start pretty much in December, starting to recruit our sponsors and things like that, and starting to get the things rolling. So it's not just one weekend a year for us. I mean, we go, pretty much year round with it, with the event. So
wow. Well, Dan, thank you very much for stopping in and chatting with us here. And good luck getting all those the basketball things set up there.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the call and the support that everybody gives us. And if anyone wants to volunteer, give us a call at the Y or stop down. Like I said, can't thank our volunteers and our sponsors enough for everything that they've done for us, and appreciate your call.
Okay. Dan, thanks a lot.
Okay. Bye.
See you.
Good, Jonathan.
Bye.
Yep, bye.
And that was Dan Galadio, the guy pretty much in charge of the entire Gus Macker tournament, which has got to be a major job every year. Well, as you said, or as you heard, Dan said that they start in January. This is July. So that's a lot of planning. But on the other hand, it is a big event, and it's always a big draw in Hornell. And a couple with Smoke in the Valley in Canisteo, it's going to be a big weekend in the Valley. So, as you heard on Brian's News, a bill that was sponsored by Assemblyman Phil Palmisano and State Senator Tom O'Mara has been signed by the governor, and what it does is it officially recognizes the bridge on I-86 over 415 in Bath as a memorial to State Trooper Nicholas Clark, who was killed in the line of duty last July. And I thought that was a wonderful gesture, and well done. Very well done. Okay. Also, as you heard, Congressman Tom Reed was at the southern border recently. I think, this is Thursday, just earlier this week. And he, it's funny, you hear these reports, especially AOC and Ordinary Chowderhead, and she came back and she said that the conditions at the border were like a Nazi concentration camp. And you wonder the disparity between that, a Nazi concentration camp. As I said, I wonder if she's even heard of World War II. I have no idea. But Congressman Tom Reed has said that the border agents he spoke to were compassionate, they were kind, they were doing a good job. And he also said he saw some rather unusual things there at the border. He was in McAllen, Texas. And he talked about seeing drug cartels directing the illegal aliens at the border.
The cartels that control the southern side of the southern border in Mexico. They're using human beings as human artillery, if you would, where we saw firsthand as I stood at the border of Mexico on top of the Rio Grande, where cartel intelligence officers were reporting back in live time through their radio systems what was happening at the border and controlling and directing thousands of people to go to other areas of the border so that the border protection at the port of entry we stood on would be weakened because the border guards had to be deployed to those other areas.
Sounds like a military operation. It doesn't really? This cannot be by chance. This cannot be by chance. It's got to be organized. Somehow, someone, some organization has got to be organizing this. Okay, and he also talked about seeing an actual case of human trafficking.
is I saw a 6-month-old baby who, as they were coming through the border, an individual that was with that baby, claimed to be the father, was confronted by our border agents, and in the questioning, it became apparent that father, quote unquote, his story was not adding up. And because of amazing technology with rapid DNA testing that's being done in some of these facilities, they were able to say to that individual, look, we're going to do a DNA test. If this is proven not to be your child, we will prosecute you for kidnapping, and that means that you're going to be dealing with our federal penal system because you kidnapped a baby. And in the spirit of that exchange, that individual, quote-unquote, father said, by no means is that my baby. I rented that baby. I paid a smuggler because they told me that if I had a baby, that was my ticket into America in the quickest and most effective way. And there you now have a child with that quote-unquote father using that baby and that baby's life in such an evil way that now that baby is in the hands of our border guards, and that baby will never know who its mother is, who his father is, and now you have a situation that is duplicated thousands of times over, where folks are standing there as border agents going, what do we do? How do we handle this?
Do they do? I mean, there's no crisis, eh? Okay, there was no crisis for years and years and years and years, and now there is a crisis. Gee, that's weird. Yeah, boy, that's really sad stuff. I mean, that is really sad stuff. You know, as Congressman Reed said, you multiply that tens of thousands of times, and you got a real problem. And then he also talked about a conversation he had with a Border Patrol agent.
As I stood there at the border, one of my colleagues asked the border agent, and this guy was cut from steel. He was coming up on mandatory retirement at 57, meaning he could have retired years ago, but he kept on working. But as he sat there on the bus with us and responded to the question, well, how are you feeling? And the agent point blank said, sir, I'm exhausted. You need to fix this. And that same man carried out 3 young babies and a mother from those weeds where we were standing within a mile of where we were standing on that bus, and just went through that horrific experience. And you could see in his face that he was just exhausted and begged with us as the political leaders that can solve this to lead and solve it once and for all.
Wow. That's just, man, oh man. Yeah, so, yeah, there wasn't any crisis for all this time, and now there is a crisis. That's kind of weird. Yeah, how many, let me see, how many a month, 100,000 a month are being stopped at the border or coming across the border? 100,000. That's more than the population of Steuben County. That's a lot of people, and it is a crisis. It's a serious crisis. So I think that the Democrat solve to that is offer them free health care. That'll do it. Offer them free health care and free college, and that'll stop everybody from coming over, right? Of course. Yeah. Let me see. Also, more from Congressman Tom Reed. He says he has announced that the members of the Problem Solvers Caucus, of which he is a part, praised the passage of the caucus-endorsed H.R. 246. It's a bipartisan resolution opposing the global boycott, divestment, and sanctions, the BDS movement, targeting Israel. The BDS movement attempts to use economic tools to pressure Israel by boycotting Israeli goods and services and punishing individuals and companies who do business with the Jewish state. The anti-BDS resolution had 346 co-sponsors. 346 co-sponsors when it was voted on by the House, and it passed with significantly more co-sponsors than nearly any other bill currently being considered in Congress. And Reed says there are fewer, clearer examples of bias and double standards in the BDS movement. But BDS is also fundamentally incompatible with a two-state solution. It seeks to punish only Israel and not the Palestinians, and it rejects direct negotiations in favor of a unilateral strategy. So, he calls Israel an unwavering ally of the United States, and it is, and one of our most important strategic partners around the globe. He says, I am proud of our Problem Solvers Caucus members who have stood up to ensure Jewish people are treated fairly and spoken out to show we care about this great nation. So, also, let me see. That's right. Insurance. Everybody needs insurance. You can't get by without insurance. You never know. Let's say you need insurance and you go, I should have had insurance. Uh-oh, a little late now, isn't it? Okay. Well, you can do no better than the Ryan Agencies. They have offices in Hornell and Jasper and Wellsville. And they also have a really good website, ryanagency.com, on which you can pay your bill, you can report a claim, you can email an agent, you can get a quote, and do a whole bunch more on their website, ryanagency.com. And they are local, they're independent, they do the insurance shopping for you. That's handy. It's like having your own personal insurance shopper. They have access to many insurance companies to find the best rates for you. They are insurance experts. They offer sound, unbiased advice. They're friendly. They're local. They are the Ryan Agencies.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Eddie Garcia.
In Major League Baseball games of note, battle of division leaders in Minnesota, where the Yankees top the Twins 10-7. Minnesota's lead on Cleveland is down to 2 games in the AL Central, with the Indians shutting out the Blue Jays 4-0. Cleveland starter Shane Bieber gets a complete game 1-hit shutout. He struck out 10. Cubs over the Giants 4-1, while the Cardinals beat the Pirates 14-8. Paul DeJong for St. Louis hit 3 home runs in that win, but the Cardinals are still a half game back of Chicago for first in the NL Central. It was the Braves being shut up by the Royals 2-0, while the Nationals edged the Rockies 3-2. So Atlanta's lead on Washington in the NL East is down to 4 games. Angels beat the Dodgers 3-2. Angels taking both games in their mini freeway series against the Dodgers. Astros over the A's 4-2. Justin Verlander gets his 13th win of the year for Houston. It's tied for the Major League lead. It was the Rays over the Red Sox 3-2. Charlie Morton gets his 12th win of the year for Tampa Bay. And the Phillies down the Tigers 4-0. Philadelphia's a half game out of that final wildcard spot in the National League.
From the Fox Business Network, Nissan is eliminating 12,500 jobs worldwide by March. The company confirms it's cutting costs to overhaul its U.S. business, where its sales have declined. Nissan sales are also down in Europe and Japan. The automaker has been struggling since its former chairman, Carlos Ghosn, was arrested on financial misconduct charges last year. Samsung says its $2,000 Galaxy Fold smartphone will relaunch in September. It delayed the debut of the phone in April when it had a problem with screens breaking. The Fold is a regular-sized phone that opens to create a tablet. Samsung says it has added additional reinforcements to better protect the device. Tesla lost money in its spring quarter, but it delivered a record number of cars. The Dow was down 79 yesterday, NASDAQ up 70, S&P up 14. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Jenny Cosola.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans. 30% of Americans who are planning home improvements of $5,000 or more will pay for those renovations with a high-interest credit card. That may not be a great idea. A better idea may be to take cash out of your home with a Quicken Loans 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 4.125%. APR 4.22%. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Rate subject to change. Pay 0.88% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Today at Simmons Rockwell Ford. Drive away in a new Ford F-150 lease for only $339 a month. A new 2019 F-150 STX Crew Cab 4x4 equipped with a 2.7 V6 EcoBoost engine, running boards, 20-inch alloy wheels. Lease with no money down and Ford Trade Assist for $339 a month for 36 months. Only tax and DMV fees are due at signing. Shop Simmons-Rockwell.com.
And here we are once again. This is from People magazine, how a South Dakota woman became the Queen's first female royal swan upper in 800 years. Now, I've heard of swan upping, except I wasn't quite sure exactly what. At least I've seen the phrase here, royal swan upping, in 800 years. Every summer for the past 800 years, an all-men team of rowers has traveled the River Thames in England counting swans as part of an ancient royal ceremony known as swan upping. So they count these swans. And that all changed last week, however, when Karen Hammond, 62 years old from South Dakota, became the first woman since the 12th century to take part in the ritual, which happens every year during the third week of July and involves counting, weighing, and tagging baby swans between Sunbury-on-Thames and Abington Bridge. The Queen owns all mute swans, the most common of 3 local species found on open water in the UK, as part of a tradition dating back to the 12th century. According to the official British monarchy website, the swans are also given a health check and ringed with individual identification numbers by the Queen's Swan Warden. The swans are then set free again. Hammond, who wore the traditional scarlet shirt and white trousers, and there's a photograph of her, of the swan uppers for the ceremony, was invited to take part by friend David Barber, who holds the official title of Queen's Swan Marker. Anyway, so she is seriously into swans. She married a guy from England, and she's now a big swan fan. So they do this thing every year. They count all the swans. While the Queen owns all of the unmarked mute swans on the River Thames, she only exercises the right between Sunbury and Abington. It's here that the rowers travel in a flotilla of 6 wooden skiffs, a little boat, flying ancient banners from the Swan Uppers, the Vintners Company, and the Dyers Company, both of which have taken part since the 15th century. In ancient times, the birds were counted so that the royal family knew exactly how many swans they had to feast on during the state banquets. Anyone who dared to poach a swan, and that was it. You're dust. So she's the first female swan upper since the since the 12th century. Wow, a swan upper. So that's what they do. They count and mark swans. So, speaking about rather unusual women, a Massachusetts mom ran after a man who she said exposed himself twice to her while she was jogging Thursday morning, last Thursday morning, and held him down while she tried to call 911. So the 35-year-old single mom, identified only by her first name, Aya, said that she was listening to an audiobook when this guy exposed himself and tried to reach out to grab her or something like that. So, the woman was a former member of the Israeli military. You know, Ziva? in NCIS, it was like a Ziva. So she gave chase, knocked him down, and held on to him. And so they called 911, but the man managed to slip away. And the chief there said, what do you say, where is it? She reacted in the blink of an eye, what she felt was the best form of action. Good for her. I think she put the fear of God in the guy. Boy, if you're going to pick on anybody.
Nursing home for a loved one isn't easy until you've discovered Hornell Gardens Nursing and Rehabilitation. Hornell Gardens delivers the highest level of care